And welcome to The Bottom Line, where we break down the most pressing economic and business stories of the day. Today, Employers of Poland, a Polish business association, released a report highlighting challenges faced by Poland. The bottom line is the economy needs immigrants, although the process of bringing them in should be well thought out. Welcome to Kamil Sobolewski, Chief Economist from Employers of Poland.
Hello, thanks for having me here.
Welcome. So I'd like to discuss the basic premise of your report to begin with. We understand that Poland's economy requires immigration to assist the growth of businesses and the economy. And it's not just to assist it, but to keep it going in the not so far off future. This is quite concerning.
Yes, it is. We are a bit suicidal at Employers of Poland because we would like to promote immigration that doesn't have good story nowadays. We see what happens in UK, we see what happens in France, and we all fear that immigration can bring social challenges that are overwhelming in those countries. But we need to recall that there are countries in the world that have built their strength and consistent growth on immigration policies. Countries like US, Canada, or Australia just keep living from this, and it looks like Germany and France are not the only examples in the world, and that immigration can be successful. And the challenge that we face and that prompted us to pick this topic is demographics. Today, 22 million of Poles are in their working age, and in 35 years it will be just below 14 million. So the working population will shrink by 8 million people, and this is assuming moderate scenarios for immigration. If we face a situation where Poland again starts to be a source of immigrants for other countries, then we might end up even worse. So we really should think about immigration, but it's not only about the labor market, it's also about integration. Because we don't need just labor, we need people, and these people have their needs, and also the society has their needs. So we need to combine all those interests in a way that will have not only short-term economic benefits, but also long-term social benefits.
Yes, the interesting thing about your report is that it seems to have quite a balanced approach to the idea of immigration, quite a realistic idea of what Poland's society's perception might be of immigration. And I wanted to ask you if you could give us some of your ideas about how you see this proper implementation of this economic idea of immigration.
Well, I don't think we have a ready-to-use, only right receipt how immigration in Poland should look like. We have just some observations or ideas that are, in our opinion, important in the public discussion in Poland today, because Poland now is in the process of preparing our strategy for the immigration and then the immigration policies. So it's probably the right timing to take part in the discussion. And we have looked at international examples, at numbers and at policies. For example, Canada, that used in 2000, Canadian population was 30 million people, so it was much smaller than Poland today. Today, Canada has a population of 37 million, so quite similar to Poland today. They've been accepting 250,000 plus immigrants each and every year. Over the last 3 years, it's been 400 and more thousand immigrants a year. So we are talking about numbers that are significantly smaller for Poland. Our rough estimate of how many immigrants we might need is 100,000 a year, which is much smaller than that one, but is probably not sufficient to meet the needs of the economy.
But in terms of the demographic issue, this issue has been on the cards for quite a while now. And so if you are raising the issue of the need for economic immigration, this is not a new issue.
It's not, but it is important to stress that demography is a very long process. When you look back to 2004, when Poland joined the European Union, we had an unemployment of 20%, and under the same statistics, today we stand below 3%. Our potential to use local force power is effectively exhausted. We have added 1% of working people each and every year on average during this time, and over the next coming 30 years we will have a decrease of 1% in the working age population. So we are exactly at the changing point where we need to adapt our policies to the challenges. And to some extent we have done this, because over the last couple of years Poland has had some liberal policies, especially concerning 7 countries that were chosen and where laws were relatively liberal. So over the last 10 years, roughly 1 million immigrants came to Poland and is now currently working in Poland. But we have many other policies we need to use. We need re-migration of those Poles who have left our country over the past years. We need to look at perhaps some population from within the European Union that might be interested in the vivid Polish labor market, as opposed to, for example, Greek, Portuguese, or Spanish labor market, where finding a good work is not as easy. But we need to be open also for immigrants from other cultures, especially as we differ from most countries that have provided examples and lessons to us in one respect, namely in Poland we still have growing population of people with higher education. Mm-hmm. This is due to the fact that only 17% of elderly people who are now leaving labor market have higher education, while it is 43% among the young people. So what we effectively need is not exactly only skilled labor. We need just people for popular works that are very much in need in many industries, like construction, like logistics, like transportation, like any kind of industrial production. This is really areas where companies, even with great employer brands, struggle to find employees. And what we are showing in the report is that if production is not here, it's also not automation and not R&D that comes to Poland. These things come combined together. So if we cannot provide sufficient number of workers, also the jobs requiring higher education will not be created in our country. So I think this is the biggest challenge and also an opportunity for us.
One of the things that caught my attention in your report is that regardless of this craze for technology and the emphasis on AI actually moving in to various industries, actually in Poland as well, we still need people. We still need people in all the industries across the country, but also the fact that we need people to develop Poland's energy security and also our national security infrastructure. And I wanted to ask you to give us a little bit more details on the fact how much we need this immigrant population to actually develop these 2 very key areas of Poland's security.
The flows in the labor market are not that predictable as we would wish they were. We don't exactly know to what extent foreign workers replace Polish workers in old places and to what extent Polish workers move in other directions. So the more we dig into details, the more difficult it is to see what happens. But the rough numbers are evident. We need millions of people. The numbers that I have earlier given are all based on the assumption that we need a constant number of workers. While when you look, for example, at the Polish Social Security Office estimates, they are rather looking at old age dependency ratio. They are looking at the fact that if we need to share our gross domestic product with elderly population, we also need more people to produce also for these elderly people. And if you take this perspective, we probably need something closer to 300,000 people a year than to 170,000 people a year, stemming from the other assumptions. So this is really great numbers, and these numbers will be hardly achievable in a global environment where demographics is a challenge not only for Poland, it is for most developed countries, it is for the entire European Union. It is also a challenge for China, for example, that will probably try to grab as many workers as possible from their region. So probably the outstanding free resources are also, for example, in sub-Saharan Africa. So try to imagine, is it possible that sub-Saharan Africa today, over the next coming 30 years, goes through a path so successful as it was the case over the last years for the Eastern Europe or for China? It's not a given. So we might face a world, not only a world in Poland or a situation in Poland, where workers are in demand. And the social consequences of insufficient supply of labor are in very many areas. As you mentioned, Poland is a star when it comes to comparing GDP growth pace among the European countries. But it's not a given for the future. We need to have resources to do that. We have among the lowest investments in European Union. We have shrinking population. We have great environmental challenge that will make using natural resources much more difficult. So we need more new engines for the growth to come. And I believe this is the reason why we should think about immigration, not after we have faced some economic deep challenge, but before it happens.
Okay, well, we'll have to park our conversation there, but many pressing issues that we raised there. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And that was Kamil Sobolewski from Employers of Poland here with us in the studio. Thank you so much for joining us on Business Arena. I was your host, Marie Cato. Join us again tomorrow at 5 p.m. CET on TVP World. For more business stories, check us out on X and on tvpworld.com. But don't go away. Coming up next, World Talks. Goodbye.